back with the
Oh.
Yes. All right. Yes. So I know it's been a minute. We did not have an episode I don't think we had one in October. I can't really remember. October was also my birthday month. And I
Mhm.
was also fighting for my life in October. So now we're here. And I'm really excited. For those that don't know, my name is Dr. K. My pronouns are they, them, Beyonce. Yes, I said Beyonce. I research digital misogynoir and I look at how Black women and non-binary femmes create harm reduction on social media websites such as Twitter, which I'm no longer on. I'm a Blue Sky girl now and a Threads girl. So I deleted my Twitter also, y'all. So if you was following me on Twitter, make sure you keep up with me on here and my website and stuff. And for those that don't know what misogynoir is a term that was coined in 2008 by Dr. Moya Bailey, a Black feminist scholar, that discusses the unique discrimination that Black women experience, particularly in U.S. digital and visual culture, based on their race and gender. So we are really excited today for our guests. I'm excited because this is not a topic that I had on my list, but when they reached out to me and was talking about the topic in the email, I was like, oh, this is going to be good because I don't know nothing about this. So this is going to be so interesting to talk about. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who are going to really benefit from the conversation. So I want to introduce you all to Alicia Haskett. Their pronouns are she, her. They are the founder of Boudoir for Black Women, an X where the A is, because we're inclusive of all Black women and femmes. And they are also the founder of the Coterie Noir. They are a speaker, educator, photographer. And I am super excited to have them talk to us today about misogynoir in the boudoir industry. So I'm going to jump into the first question, Alicia.
Okay.
How does the boudoir industry navigate or contribute to harmful stereotypes about Black women's sexuality? And in what ways might this impact the representation of Black women in intimate artistic spaces?
Thank you for having me. I think the biggest thing is that they believe that we don't show up. And so they don't really advertise to Black women. They want to, which is a lot of my work in the speaking space, is that they don't know what to say to us. They don't know how to say things, or they put on this persona where they think they have to speak in a certain way. They have to change their music. They have to do these things to say, oh, I want to have a Black person be in my studio. But instead of just saying, I want a Black woman, they're like, I want a person of color. And I'm like, no, I'm Black. I just say Black. It's okay. If you want Black, just say Black. I think the other thing that they do is they don't realize that we are different than our white clients. So they try to have the same hairstylist and the same makeup artist. And I'm like, you can't do that, because a lot of times they don't know how to do our hair. They don't know how to match our undertones. They don't know that we come in several shades throughout the seasons. And so they try to put the onus on the actual client, like, oh, bring your makeup or make sure you have your hair done. And I'm like, but if you are cultivating an experience where this is a luxury experience, then you need to show up for your clients, all clients, and not just your white clients, because that's all your makeup artist can do. And so I think a lot of the process for them is understanding that it's not just about them. Like, they are not default, and they can't sometimes get past that because that's what they've been taught. That's what they learned. Or a lot of the people, when I do speaking engagements, are like, I'm in an all white town. I may have one or two clients, or I have a Black friend and I've asked my only Black friend if they can be my model. And I ask them questions about what I'm supposed to do. And I'm like, well, no, you shouldn't do that. You need to just pay people. You need to read books. Here's some books you can read, to not just put everything on that one Black friend who obviously is not a monolith. We're not a monolith. So why do you keep going to that one Black friend to ask them questions about Black women? And I see that constantly. It's always a rotation every time I'm speaking. Oh, I don't know what to say. I don't know if this is right. How do I say this? Instead of just showing up for us in the way that we want you to show up as yourself. And a lot of times they are uncomfortable with that.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you say that. I think that shows up in a lot of different industries where white people they're walking on eggshells that they
Mm-hmm.
put down, right? So we didn't put
Mm-hmm.
down the eggshells. They're walking on their own eggshells when they could just excuse me, they could just ask a question And I also think that tokenism plays a big role in a lot
Yes.
of these industries. And it sounds like that's something that comes up in the boudoir industry as well, where there may be a Black photographer or a Black boudoir model that has worked with a couple of white people, and now they're like the go-to spokesperson
Hmm.
for all Black people who are interested in boudoir. So I want to move on to the next question. In what ways can boudoir photographers and artists actively work against the objectification and hypersexualization of Black women, ensuring that their work promotes agency, consent, and diverse expressions of Black sensuality?
I think the first thing is they have to know their clients. Like you have to have a conversation with your client and not think that we are all the same. All of my clients are Black women and they are totally different. Everybody has a different experience, a different story, a different way they want to show up. And even what sexy is for them is different across the spectrum. But a lot of times they will try to put us into this space where we are cookie cutter and what they see on TV, what they've seen with their last clients. And so they are not really getting to know what are this client's fears, how do they love their body, what are the things that they're learning to love about their bodies. And instead they automatically assume that all Black women don't have a problem with their bodies, that we love all of our bodies, which is not always the case. Like we also have fears and things when we talk about how we want to show up. And then also within that, a lot of, even for me, my Black clients are really struggling with loving their bodies because their bodies are not their own. They've never had body autonomy. So this may be the first experience where they felt like I get to say what happens to my body. And a lot of times our white counterparts cannot fathom that. They don't understand because they've been able to do whatever they want. And a lot of times we are learning what that looks like for us. So I think it's, even for a Black photographer, it's important to have conversations to know your client and understand what they are dealing with and how you can take that and give them the space to show up as themselves with their body that they have now.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then the last question I have is, how do industry standards in boudoir photography, such as lighting, styling, and editing practices, perpetuate or challenge Eurocentric beauty standards? And what are the implications for Black women seeking authentic representation?
That's a big question. So a lot of it comes with the makeup, honestly. Like the makeup is always a big thing because we have very beautiful features. And so some of us have wider noses, and a lot of times they want to contour and shape our faces in ways that are not natural to us. And that
Mm-hmm.
happens a lot with just Black women in general when you go on TikTok and you see the same thing. And the filters play into that as well, where they lighten our skin and make our noses smaller or our mouths smaller, things like that. So a lot of that has to do with our Black women showing up and saying, I don't want to look like that. And a lot of times they struggle with just being open and honest because they don't want the experience to be something different. They want to get the same, but sometimes it's not. So I think a lot of times it's like, do you know how your client wants to look? Do you understand how their hair is? No, you cannot have someone who doesn't understand how to do our hair show up and say, oh, let me just put this heat on your hair and fry it and do whatever. And we see that even in the modeling industry in 2024, where models are posting pictures of, I had to do my own hair. Or I had to do my own makeup because they don't have my colors. And it's the same exact thing is how are you showing up for them? How are you making sure that they feel seen? And if not, then you should not be touching our faces. You should not be working with us. You should make space for us. You should educate yourself and you should understand that at this moment right now, especially with what just happened, you need to do the work and not keep asking other people to step in for you and show you. Like, are you paying the money? Pay the money to understand how to do the same things that we have to do because we know it's important, especially with the lighting. A lot of times they will put an orange filter on us because that's what they're used to with their clients, with their white clients. And I'm like, you can't do that. You can't do that. It doesn't work like that. Or I've heard people say that, oh, I'll just turn them black and white because that's what one of my mentors said. Like if I can't get the color right, I'll just make them black and white and that's okay. It's enough. And I'm like, but that's not what they paid for. That's not what they asked you for. They want the same exact experience. And unfortunately, that's not what's happening.
Yeah, and to kind of like go into that question, um, I was thinking about the ways in which you all like stage the poses. and what that's like in the boudoir industry, where um, maybe possibly the white photographers are not positioning the bodies of Black women in a way that is flattering. Do you have anything to add onto that?
So there is a big movement in the last 2 to 3 years for body positivity within um, our brands and things like that, but it still centers white women. So it centers larger white women's bodies, and so they are learning how to pose women who have larger bodies, maybe not as much bigger bottoms, because a lot of my clients got donks. And they, a lot of times, like when I did work with white women, they didn't want to have a bigger bottom. Like they wanted their butts to be smaller. They wanted to show that. I'm like, my clients, they want their butts to be large. And so I think that's also a switch that a lot of people may struggle with is how do I show up? And then also with the Black clients, they don't want to be seen as like this Jezebel. They don't want to be seen as this promiscuous woman. So they want to show certain poses, but maybe they want to be a little bit softer. Whereas I found that the white clients wanted to be sexy and bold. And my clients just wanted to be seen as soft and feminine and sexy, but not to the extreme where they have their legs open and things like that. And that's also something that a lot of us have to work on and work through to just show up as ourselves for sure.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So those are all the questions that I have. I'm really excited to see how people engage with this conversation, because I have yet to hear anyone talk about misogynoir in the boudoir industry. And I didn't even know that there was like a network specifically for Black women and femmes who are models and who are photographers and folks who are in the industry. So thank you so much for joining me today to talk about this. And you all can find out more information. I will be sure to put the access to their website and all of their socials in the description bar below the video.
Thank you so much for having me.